If you're grabbing that ready-to-use glass cleaner off the shelf at Walmart, you're making a massive mistake that's going to have you wiping those windows 2-3 times before they ever come clean. I see this all the time, detailers wasting time and wasting product, getting frustrated with streaks and haze. In my 23 years of doing this, there's one thing that fixed all that. So stick around because I'm going to show you all exactly what I use and why it matters. No matter if you're a weekend warrior or a professional detailer, this is going to matter for you. So today we're talking about glass cleaner, specifically why I use concentrate instead of the ready-to-use stuff. And this matters whether you're detailing cars professionally, doing this on the side, or you're just trying to get your own vehicle's windows clean without fighting streaks. Now, I know some of y'all are going to say, it's glass cleaner. What's the big deal? And I get it. But stick with me because by the time I'm done, you're going to see exactly why this one choice makes a big difference in your results, especially when the weather starts working against you. So here's the deal with ready-to-use glass cleaner. When you grab that bottle off the shelf, doesn't matter if it's invisible glass, Windex, whatever the brand, that product is already diluted. The manufacturer already decided what the dilution ratio is going to be before it ever left the factory. You open that bottle and that's it. You're stuck with exactly what's in there. You have zero control over it. Now that might not sound like a big deal, but here's where it becomes a problem. That product was formulated at a fixed ratio, usually somewhere around 1 to 10, 1 parts cleaner to 10 parts water, give or take. The company tested it in a lab in controlled conditions and said, yep, that works. And it does sometimes. But here's the thing. You're not detailing cars in a lab. You're out here on a hot parking lot in July or working in a cold garage in December. That fixed ratio that worked in the controlled environment, it doesn't account for that. So when you're out there fighting streaks and haze on a windshield, cleaning it once, twice, 3 times, and it still won't come clean, most people blame their technique. They blame they're doing something wrong, but a lot of times it's not the technique. It's the product you're using was never designed for the conditions you're working in. And on top of that, and this is something a lot of people don't think about, ready-to-use products have a lot of water in them. That's not necessarily bad, but when you're cleaning glass, you're working with a product that needs to flash off. It needs to evaporate off the surface as you buff it out. When the ratio is fixed and it's got more water than it needs for the conditions that you're working in, it doesn't flash right off. And that right there is where y'all start getting the smearing, the haze, the milky film on the glass that just won't buff off, won't clean off no matter what you do. So you spray more product, you keep buffing, and now you've got too much product on the glass. And it's just moving around and you're not cleaning, you're just pushing it, you're just smearing it. Let me talk about weather for a second, because this is the part most people skip right over, and it is huge. Cleaning glass is one of the most weather sensitive jobs you're going to do in detailing. More than washing, more than interior work. The reason is something called flash time to be specific. Flash time is how long it takes your product to evaporate off the glass before you buff it out. On a hot day, say it's 90 degrees outside, you're working in direct sun, the glass is warm to the touch. Your flash time is extremely fast. That product starts evaporating almost as soon as it hits the glass. With a ready-to-use locked-in fixed ratio, you might not even have enough time to spread the product and buff it out before it's already drying on you. And when it dries before you buff it out, streaks. Every single time. On a cold day, you've got the exact opposite problem. Your flash time slows way down. The product sits on the glass longer. It doesn't want to evaporate. So you end up with this hazy, smeared film that just kind of sits there. You buff it, it moves around, but it doesn't really clear up or clean anything. That's because the dilution is locked in that ready to use that was never designed to be used in 40-degree weather. Remember, it was used and tested in a controlled environment, probably somewhere around 70 to 75 degrees. And then there's humidity. High humidity days slow everything down too. Your product isn't flashing off the way it should. It's just sitting on the glass, mixing with the moisture in the air. Same result, haze, smear, big problem. None of that is your fault. By the way, you're using the product correctly. The problem is the product literally cannot adapt to the conditions you're working in. And that's exactly why I run a concentrate glass cleaner. So with concentrate, I control the dilution ratio. I decide how much product goes into how much water. That means I can adjust for exactly what conditions I'm working in that day. Most of the time I'm going to adjust for the seasons because here in Texas where I detail professionally, we don't get a lot of crazy humidity swings, though we can for my Texas folks. I know it gets humid here, but it doesn't seem to affect my glass cleaner quite the same that the heat is going to, like 110 degrees. In my shop, moderate weather, I'm usually running right around 1 to 20. 1 part concentrate to 20 parts water. That's a solid working mix for normal conditions, plenty of cleaning power, flashes off clean, no streaks. But when it's hot day working outside, glass is warm, I'm bumping that up to about 1 to 30. Thinning it out a little bit more so it spreads easier and I've got more time to work with it before it flashes on me. I'm working with the weather instead of fighting it. Cold day, or I've got a really contaminated windshield, build up of film, heavy grease from interior off-gassing, I'll go stronger, like a 1 to 10, maybe even a 1 to 8 if it's really bad. More cleaning power to cut through the film, and because the flash time is slower in the cold, that stronger mix actually works in my favor. I've got time to work the product into the glass before I buff it out. That's what you cannot do with ready to use. You open that bottle, it's already done. You cannot add anything to it, you cannot strengthen it, you cannot dial it back. You are 100% locked into whatever ratio somebody in a lab decided was good enough. And good enough isn't what we're doing here. Here's one more thing worth mentioning. A lot of the ready-to-use products, especially the cheaper ones, have fragrances, dyes, and sometimes added silicones in them that can leave a residue on the glass. And because you're working with a fixed formula, you can't back off that concentration to reduce the residue. Whatever they put in that bottle, you're getting all of it, every single time, regardless of the conditions. Now, I know what some of y'all are thinking. This sounds more complicated than just grabbing something off the shelf, and I get it. But here's the deal. On cost, and this part matters, a good professional grade glass cleaner concentrate is going to run you somewhere around $15 to $35 for a gallon. That gallon, when you're mixing it at a 1 to 20 ratio, gives you roughly 20 of the ready-to-use products. That is 5 gallons of glass cleaner out of one single gallon. Now you do the math on that. Compared to buying individual bottles of a ready-to-use at $6, $7, $8, $9 now a bottle, you're saving serious money and you're getting better results because you actually have control over what you're putting on the glass. In my shop, I keep it simple. I've got labeled spray bottles, one for my standard mix, one for my hot weather, and one for my cooler temps. It takes me 2 minutes roughly to mix a fresh bottle, measuring cup, and you're done. It's not complicated at all. And for my detailers out there running a mobile setup or shop, when you've got a concentrate, controllable product, you get consistent results. That's what builds your reputation. That's what gets y'all referrals. That's what gets you repeat customers. One smeared up windshield and that customer notices, because that's what they're going to see every time they get in the car, and before you even pull out of the driveway, that's a bad day. You control your product, you control your outcome. I know this from experience. When you mess up the windows, the customers are not going to be happy. You can miss a lot of things in a detail, and the customers can usually overlook it, just chalk it up to being human, but the glass will drive people crazy. Smears, haze, all that stuff is absolutely ridiculously hard to drive through, especially at nighttime when all the headlights start coming through. That's when you really start noticing it, and it can actually impair your vision. So to keep your customers safe and happy, buy concentrate, mix it correctly so that you can get the best results every single time. Real quick before I let y'all go, a couple of technique tips that go hand in hand with this. One, always use a dedicated glass microfiber towel. Glass is the most unforgiving surface of the car when it comes to the towel cleanliness. Any lint, any contamination in that towel goes straight to the glass. I keep a glass only towel that nothing else ever touches, and I wash my glass towels by themselves. I do not mix them with any other, no paint correction towels, no nothing. It doesn't matter how clean they look. The paint correction stuff is going to have like oils and stuff like that in it, so you don't want to cross contaminate your glass towels with those. So make sure you're washing them with specifically Rags to Riches, not sponsored by the rag company, but Rags to Riches is the most fantastic chemical you can have to clean your microfibers, but wash your glass towels separately. 2, work in the shade whenever you can. I know that's not always possible, but even positioning the car so direct sunlight isn't hitting the glass makes a big difference in your flash time, especially in the summer. Something I've used for a number of years since I carry the larger drying towels, and I always have multiple in there just so I'm prepared for if we get an influx of washes or somebody wants to throw in an extra one. I've got plenty of drying towels. I'll lay those across the windshield and put the windshield wiper blades down on them while I'm detailing the rest of the car to help kind of keep that windshield cooled off. The windshield and the back windows seem to be the two that are the most difficult in the summertime with the heat. The side windows can be, but the windshield and the rear window are usually going to be the more difficult ones. So I lay towels out across there so that the heat can't penetrate into that glass quite as quickly. And 3, the 2-pass method. First pass to spread the product and loosen the film. Give it just a second to flash. Then the second pass to buff it clean. Use 2 towels or flip to a clean side. I teach my employees a wet side, dry side, and then every time I'm walking somewhere and I fold into my wet side so that I always know which side is my wet side. The wet side, dry side, and the 2-wipe method is going to be the best approach to reducing all the streaks, all the haze. That second wipe is the crucial point to getting all that haze off. So to sum it up, if y'all are fighting streaks and haze on windows, windshields, and you're using ready-to-use glass cleaners, especially the aerosol glass cleaners, make a switch to concentrate. Get yourself control over the dilution ratio, adjust it for the conditions you're working in, Your windows are going to come out cleaner, and you're going to use less product overall, and you're going to save money doing it. The product that I really enjoy using is the P&S TrueView Glass Cleaner. It's also going to have specific dilution ratios on the back of the container that's going to tell you what to use in what weather conditions, one being 4 to 10, the other one being 1 to 10. You can adjust those based on what I said with the dilution ratios earlier in the video if you need to get something a little bit thinner, but I have found also staying to those dilution ratios specific with that product has worked absolutely fantastic for detailing in Texas, where we get all kinds of weather, but not quite the same as some of you folks in the north or the west, places like that. If y'all found this helpful, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed. I put out detailing content every week, and if y'all want a video going deeper on glass cleaning technique, let me know in the comment section.